friends, Monica here with Calligraphy, and in today's video we are going to compose and hand letter a quote using some Tombow brush pens, as well as a calligraphy oblique pen with a Brause nib and ink. Also, just to draft out, I'm going to be using pencil, eraser, ruler, and then to finish off we're going to highlight with a gel pen. So I like to start with lines to make sure that I have slightly more even spacing. I didn't measure these to be perfectly spaced between each line, but more to fit the page so that it was spaced throughout the entire page. After I add my lines, I loosely draft out the words about where I want them and how I plan to write them, so the different style I might use, where they might go, and I'll just play with this draft a bit. Before this, I've kind of done a few to try out, so here you'll see I kind of got the styles that I kind of want to do, and I will pencil these in. And I might, again, make a few more adjustments once I actually get the pen to paper. But at least I kind of have a general idea and where I might need to move some spacing around. And here's a kind of good example of where you can see I didn't really love the spacing I gave myself or even the way that the word fit. So I ended up just erasing the whole line, or at least the whole word, and just retrying it again. So maybe making the style fit a little bit more into just the aesthetic that you might want. So that's the main benefit of using pencil and paper first. And then I like to erase a little bit just in advance, just so that there's not so much to erase later. It's still visible enough where I can see it, but as I said, there's not as much to erase later. It doesn't show as clearly in the video, but I can still see it, so at least I know about where I want to be. Also, it lets me have room if I decide that I want to move it around a little bit. If it's just lighter, then I can kind of visualize the space a little bit more and move stuff around a bit. So starting with the Tombow dual tip brush pen first, I'll use the thicker end for the heavier downstrokes just to give myself some chunkier lines. And you know, I might not write this in the most traditional way that you write letters, but it's just so that I can kind of have some of the thick downstrokes where I want them. And so it kind of changes the way you write out some of the letters there. I chose to make each line a different color, again, just for variety and more pop in this piece. And then to give additional variety and emphasis, I'll write out the next word, lie, as a bigger, bold blocks. And then just fill in those spaces so they're nice and bold. So once that's done, now I'll go into adding some shadow. So again, still using the Tombow, I'll just take a gray color pen here, and from here I'm imagining that my light source is from the top left side of the paper, which will put my shadows on the bottom right of each letter. Next, I move on to the oblique nib pen, where I struggled a ton today. I just couldn't get the ink flow as I normally would, and that's my fault because I probably should have used a test sheet first to practice and do maybe some drills as well, just to get it set. It also would have helped me with these shaky lines that you can see happening when I first start, both with upstrokes and downstrokes. Even those kind of thicker, harder downstrokes I found were a bit shaky. So when you're switching between different pens, it's a good idea to have a test sheet before so you can play with pressure on your strokes and kind of get your shakes out. And I know I definitely need to practice what I preach here, so oops, sorry about that. And here is a bit of real time just for your viewing pleasure and relaxation. Here I have a little bit more of the shakes written out after having written the first line, so things started to go a bit more smoothly. Of course, not as I said that. And I also realized that my pen flow wasn't that great because I didn't properly actually wash my nib the last time I used it. And so it's kind of getting stuck at some points too. I also realized that I've used this nib quite a few times now, and it might actually be time to change, as I think the tines are probably starting to get a bit worn. And there you can see just getting stuck to the paper a bit, and so I've had to change where I was holding and bracing the paper on the desk. So once it's all written out and I'm kind of happy with it, I leave it to dry for a bit and then come back, and then I go through and erase the rest of those pencil marks that I used to draft this originally. So here is also when I will just take a look and see what else I might want to add. And so I'll just go through and erase, and then as I'm adding detail, I'll find other parts to erase and clean. And so now I've noticed that there's some highlight or some shadows that I might have missed, and I'll just touch base and touch up each point that I might have missed already as I come back through here. And then I think that this piece needs a bit of highlights on at least the color bits just to make it pop a bit more. So I'll take my gel pen here and just add highlights to the top left sides of most of the letters. So here it's in opposition to where I'm putting the shadows. And I'll go to the top left here. And then I'll just get to the lie bit, and since it's big and bold and blocked, I'd just like to add some other decorative elements, and so I'll just make some thicker dots throughout that piece. And so there you have it. After a bit more erasing, the final piece is all there, and I have included all the supplies as well. So thanks for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed watching and following hopefully along to put together a hand lettering piece on your own.